Welcome to Degree in Me, where we highlight a specific major each week. I'm your host, Christabel, and today's major is Theater and Musical Theater with Department Chair Tom Pryor and current student Lauren Orsak. Thanks for joining us today, guys.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Of course, yes, it's an honor. How long have you been here at Sam Houston State University, Professor?
I have been here for 18 years now, since 2003. I started off as a visiting assistant professor, and then I became full professor in 2016, and then chair. This is my first year as chair.
Really?
So it's been a long time. Very fruitful career
yay.
here. Yeah.
That's awesome. So you kind of had to climb the ladder.
Yeah, the academic ladder from assistant professor to associate professor, and then associate chair for a while, and then to full professor, and then chair. Yeah.
Okay. What brought you here? What led you here to Sam Houston?
I'm an actor in Houston. I do a lot of professional theater in Houston, and I went to all these auditions, and I kept seeing Sam Houston State University theater students in these auditions. And they were doing so well. I thought, what is in the water up there? I really want to find out. At the time, I was getting my MFA in theater. And I was in a show where the lead was a Sam Houston student. And she said, you really should come up here and teach. So she is kind of the one who kind of led me up here and talked to the Jim Miller, who was the chair at the time.
Aww.
And so I took over his classes basically and started teaching here. So that's the story there.
Oh, cool.
Yeah,
That's awesome. Gotcha. So, Lauren, you are a theater major with acting and directing emphasis, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Gotcha. So what year is this for you?
This is year 3 at this school.
Okay.
I did a bunch of prerequisite classes at a junior college and then transferred in. I'll be graduating in May with the rest of my cohort. So this is senior year for me.
Oh, wow. Yay.
Yeah.
What led you here? Did anything steer you over here?
Oh, yeah. When I was a freshman in high school, my mom told me, Lauren, start thinking about what you want to do. High school's going to go by fast. And I knew, yes, I knew immediately that I wanted to do performing arts. And I was with my former roommate, one of my best friends. We were at her house, and she has a long line of students, family going to SAM. And she showed me some pictures of the campus, and I had heard all kinds of things about the department, all kinds of stuff. And I was like, I'm going to go up there. I'm going to see the campus. I'm going to get into the MT program, and that's what I'm going to do. So I didn't look at any other schools. I didn't apply to any other departments or anything. I came straight here. Actually got into acting and directing first and completely dropped everything I thought I was going to do for MT. My entire resume was MT. Fell in love with acting and directing, and I just have not even considered anything else since. So that's the short version.
That's awesome. Me too. I had I prayed about it, and I was like, I don't know what to do, because I was a senior, and my mom didn't tell me that. And so I'm a first-gen student, so I was
me too.
really stressed out. Really? Go you, honey, go you. But so I just woke up and I had a burning passion to go to SAM. So I didn't look anywhere else.
Yeah.
I didn't even tour the campus, anything yet.
Me either.
So yes,
Wow.
I
just
totally
knew.
get that. I knew this is where I needed to be. So that's why I kind of asked, what brought y'all here?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah, it was home immediately. I saw it online, and then I came up here one day by myself, went into the Erica Star, stood on the stage, probably not allowed, but I was 17, and I was like, nobody's here. I got up on the Erica Star stage, and I just looked out, and I was like, this is where I need to go. And I made that decision as a 17-year-old girl, didn't look at anything else.
Oh
So.
my gosh, so bold. I love it. Oh my gosh, applause to you, honey. Yes.
Thank you.
Yes. So, Professor Pryor, where did you go to college, and what all did you major in? Because I know you mentioned an MFA.
Yeah, I got my MFA at the University of Houston when I moved here from New York, and I got my BFA from Carnegie Mellon University in Pittsburgh from their conservatory training program. So that's my academic history. And then I took all kinds of acting classes and things and when I lived in New York, which was quite intense and quite fun. So,
Nice,
yeah.
nice, cool. So do you have any outside experience in this field?
Outside experience, I've been a professional actor, as I said, for about, over 30 years now. I started doing summer stock in New Hampshire and then did some projects in regional theaters across the country. And then when I moved down here, I just started auditioning and got a few jobs. And so from, I guess, about 5 years ago, 6 years ago, I've been doing about 3 or 4 shows a year until COVID hit.
Yeah.
So that's,
How did that change everything? Was like just very
oh my
strict?
goodness. It's heartbreaking. You have to just keep the glass half full mentality about where
Yeah.
the art form is going,
Yeah.
and where it's been. It's never going to go back to the same, right? There's always going to be probably some kind of self-taping, streaming element to theater because people don't want to leave their homes. And if we can deliver a product that is not in an intimate space that you're crammed in there in the dark for 2 hours, which to me is exciting, but to some people after COVID, it may not be that exciting. So it's about reinventing what we're doing and how we deliver the storytelling element of this art form.
Gotcha. And y'all are creative. It's all about creativity and innovation. So
Yeah.
I believe we really delivered with that lately.
Absolutely.
I think it's really been a renaissance for theater and media in general. I think it's been a renaissance for figuring out how to adapt and how to create something different and new and go somewhere that like we haven't had to go before because we've never had a reason to.
Yeah.
So that's like been the best part about the experience, even though it's hard. It's like, well, we're pushing boundaries now, and that's great for future generations of people that want to come into this industry.
Yeah.
And
Very
there's a lot of
stretching.
cool things being done too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So-
Things that I guess we didn't have to think about before, we now have to, and we're able to come up with like new solutions.
Yeah.
It brings a lot of hope to me because it's like, it's great to see that we have that part of us still because I feel like there's a lot of things already innovated and we're kind of using technology, but now it's like, okay, no, we gotta use the creativity and continue to innovate.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
sure.
it's awesome. So Lauren, what do you plan on doing after graduate with your degree?
Oh my goodness, I have so many dreams for now. I'm really excited. So I would really love ultimately to work for a nonprofit of some kind. I would like to eventually I would like to get a permanent position in nonprofit administration while also having the flexibility to continue auditioning professionally and working professionally.
By nonprofit org, what do you?
So we
refer to?
have in the theater community there are like regional theaters as well as nonprofit organizations that work directly with the community and reaching out for fulfilling community needs. There are also organizations that I am in love with that help with sending our industry people to military bases and getting the soldiers involved with genuine artistic expression.
Really?
Yeah, and I would love to do something that was
Wow.
like that and getting our industry out to people that don't typically get targeted by our industry.
Yeah.
Because I do think that it changes people's lives. It's really great with therapy and processing. And so I would ultimately like to do that. But for now, I'm applying to some director's positions back home so that I can start building some credits. And I'm just going to start applying with, I don't know, where the wind blows,
Yeah.
where I feel led. That's the beauty of being so young is that I'm not tied to anything yet.
Yes.
So I really can take advantage of the season. So I don't know, we'll see.
Gotcha. Where'd you hear about all those like organizations?
Well, like I said, when I was in high school, I started working with the 80 Players in downtown Houston, and they're a massive nonprofit theater, and they have a student academy basically, and I started working with them, and I was there for almost 4 years. Loved it, fell in love with it. The mission statement, everything was just exactly what I thought art was. And that inspired me to not just be an actor for the sake of acting and to just get on screen and to get on stage. It really just made me decide that my art has to mean something to me and it has to mean something to the people that I am trying to reach. So that's why I I would like to move into nonprofit.
That's awesome. A heart of gold, Lauren. A heart of gold.
It's
Thanks.
the only way we're going to
Yeah.
nurture new audiences.
It's true.
Because
true.
we have these educational outreaches for these regional theaters, like the Alley
Yeah.
has a strong one, Main Street Theater in Houston.
Mm-hmm.
And so the question becomes, where are those people going to come from?
Mm-hmm.
You know, and so these educational nonprofit outreaches, I think, are great, and it's so necessary right now.
Yeah. I didn't, and it's glad, that's why I asked how many, like, where'd you hear about that? Because I don't know of many resources. And I expressed, I have interest in theater, and I'm sure other people do as well.
Yeah.
So
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
that's awesome. So, Mr. Pryor,
Yes.
what are some of the most interesting aspects you would say are in these majors?
Oh, I would say, you know, it's the human connection. It's telling stories. It's getting a script and taking it from 1 dimensions to 3 dimensions.
Yeah.
It's learning how to work as a team and collaborate and tell some incredibly rich, deep, provocative stories that playwrights have. I think that's one element. As far as musical theater, I'm a music guy. I love all kinds of music, and the boundaries are being broken, you know, in musical theater. All kinds of new projects are coming out. So that excites me.
Yeah.
Because that's another way of telling a story, you know. Well, the actors are breaking into a song. Why is that? You know, but if the song is tightly connected to the book and the words that the actors and the characters just said, that's really interesting. I think watching a production grow from day one, you know, I go down to the stage every single day and I'm seeing something new being added to the set. You look at that and you look at the, you know, in performance, it's exciting.
Yeah.
It's always excited me.
You,
so.
you watch it grow and
Yeah.
become something, like you said, 3D. I love the way you say that. It came 1-dimensional to 3-dimensional. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah.
I think another part, especially in the academic setting, that makes it so special is we all know each other really well. So, like, our department is very close-knit between professors, faculty, students. So being able to, like, for you to go in and peek in on rehearsals a little bit every day, and then to go in and see the performance where you know what these kids are doing in class, and to see what they were sophomore year
Absolutely.
to what they're doing their senior year of college, and breaking up this text and having these emotional, connected, genuine experiences. Like, I can imagine as a professor who's worked so long to see students experience that has to be really, really
absolutely.
encouraging.
Absolutely. That's the highlight of the job. you
Yeah.
know, and to see people go on, students go on to New York and Chicago and Los Angeles, and you
so
see them in
cool.
projects. And,
That's
we have an
beautiful.
alumni, her name is Katie Rose Clark, who was Belinda, Glinda, sorry, Glinda in Wicked on Broadway.
Yeah.
And she was in Light
Really?
in the Piazza, and I got to see her one day in New York, and I was in the audience going, that was a former student of mine. And so
Yeah.
that's really exciting.
That's awesome.
I saw her on YouTube. Like,
Oh,
when I
okay.
was in high school, like,
Yeah.
I saw her, and then I came here and I was like, oh, I saw her on YouTube. It's so exciting.
Oh, so you got to work with her? Was
No,
she
I
still
never
here?
got to work with her directly, but I followed a lot of Broadway blogs and stuff like that when I was in high school, and a bunch of her stuff came up of behind the scenes and clips and things of her working on Broadway for Wicked. And then that day that I visited, we have a wall of alums in our UTC, and I was looking at it and I was like, oh my goodness, so many of these names I recognize from
so
being understudies and stand-ins and stuff like that for Broadway, the Broadway industry.
Wow, that's encouraging in itself, right? You're like, okay, that could be me, like, going out there.
But we also have students who are very successful in education, who go out and teach high school. We have students who are successful in design technology, who
my
go out
gosh,
and
so
design
talented.
sets. And
Really?
so, I mean, we run the gamut of all of our students in these various disciplines are successful. So it's not just the performers, but it's
Gotcha.
kind of that broad
Another
umbrella.
world behind as well.
Yeah,
Yeah. Nice, nice. So what's your favorite part of this major, Lauren?
I think I'm a very people person, despite being, like we discussed earlier, like I'm pretty introverted. But I also just love people. I love what they have to offer. I love their heart behind what they do. And when I was asked when I did my jury, you and Kevin asked me, like, why do you want to pursue theater? And my answer was something along the lines of, I want to be able to have these shared experiences with people in my audience and people on stage with me. And there's something very, very special that comes with that creativity, with collaborating with a team of actors, directors, and designers that you just can't get anywhere else because of how emotional and how tight-knit the company can be. And that's my favorite part, is just the relationships that grow out of being on a project together. It's amazing. You never forget it.
It's very intimate.
It
That's
is.
Yeah.
awesome. That's
It is.
awesome. So, Mr. Pryor, what jobs can you attain with musical theater and theater?
Oh, there's a whole bunch of. You mean within the discipline itself?
I guess kind of elaborate a little more. You said that there's the performance side and there's well as set building and stuff like that. What other jobs do you
Oh my
think?
goodness, stage management. There's design technology. There is front of house dealing with people. There's the whole producing side and I constantly tell students who come into my office and say, what should I minor in? Business. Minor in business or finance. Because if you are a self-starter, and especially now with what's going on with COVID, you get out there, you want to start your own theater company, start your own web series, that's what you're going to have to do. So our art form is a broad umbrella over many, many different disciplines. It takes hundreds of people to create something and to produce a show.
Oh, I believe it.
Yeah.
I believe it. Are there any misconceptions about being a theater major or musical theater major?
Yeah, that it's easy.
Oh, I
Yeah.
bet, yeah.
That's a huge misconception.
Oh,
And it just drives me crazy.
Yeah.
Because I know how hard and it's, you know what it is? It's not just a job. It's a lifestyle. To be an actor, to be in the theater is a lifestyle. And I don't mean to sound elitist, but it's the whole notion of people come into a theater major and say, or a musical theater major, and say, this is going to be easy. Because it's not. It's day to day rehearsals, working on your instrument. Your body is your instrument, your voice. And it's just, it comes down to that. It's just a hard work. And if you want it, you know, if you have the passion for it, then you should go for it.
Yeah.
But I have students who are not sure, and I tell them, well, if you're not sure or if you don't have the passion for it, this is not the place for you.
Yeah.
So.
and you have to have intentionality too, because you have to be intentional with your mental health, your physical health, because it's very, if you're not careful, it can be really taxing on your mental health if you're not doing the techniques correctly, if you're not taking care of what's inside of you first before you give it away to other people.
Really?
You have to be. And then you have to be intentional with, you're not just going to get a degree and get a job. Like, that's not how our industry works at all. And so if you're not intentional with applying, networking, using your media, creating your website, updating your resume, if you're not intentional with going out and putting yourself out there to be seen, then you're not going to get anywhere. So it's not like a blow-off major. It's not. It, unfortunately, it takes a lot of work, which does make it worth it in the end.
Yeah, and I also tell my students that you're your own business. You're your own LLC. If you move to New York, you have to, like Lauren said about networking, you have to constantly network. You have to become very adept at that. And be, you know, a little pushy, a little persistent without being,
Annoying.
you know, annoying and
Yeah.
obnoxious. You know.
Gotcha. So do you think that's going to help you become like extroverted, or how do you think that's
Yeah,
going to go?
and it's funny because Michael Bowman and I were having a conversation last week about how there are so many introverted people in the department, but this is one of the most extroverted degrees and the most extroverted industries that you can go into, because most of our work is talking to people. And like Sean Marie said the other day, like, he made a goal and he was like, I'm going to meet every single person in this building that has to do with production by the end of the year or whatever. And he did. And you have to be so social, and you have to be comfortable being yourself, because you're marketing yourself. And people are more interested in what kind of person you are and what your work ethic is. And that's what they want to use. And at the end of the day, that's what they want to pull from, and that's what they want to take advantage of. So you have to be really willing to put yourself out there, which is hard. It's not easy at all.
It's
but
not easy.
It's part of the sacrifice. Every job has a sacrifice, and that's ours. for a lot of us. So
Well, it kind of humbles me because I feel like I have to do that as well. Like here at MassCom,
Sure.
it's
Oh, yeah.
very like we're very similar.
yes.
And so
Absolutely.
it like I'm like, okay, you're nervous to go talk to someone, but come on, there's people like dealing with like so many other
Yes.
like worse problems. And you're like, okay,
Right,
that's
right.
it. I'm going over there. You know, like it
Yeah.
becomes easier.
It does. It is
Absolutely.
humbling. You're like, it's not the end of the world. I can talk to
Yes.
this person.
Yes.
I can
Yeah.
do this. I'm a human being.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
for
what
sure.
would you say to your younger self?
Oh my gosh. I would tell younger Lauren so many things, but I would tell her to stop caring about stepping out of line. I think that's something that held me back my first 2 years that I was here. So I would go into auditions every semester. We'd have like 5 auditions a semester, and I wasn't getting called back. And I finally had a meeting with another faculty member, and I said, tell me what I'm doing wrong. And he was like, I saw you come in confident. We were talking about your summer. Everything was great. And then I said, whenever you're ready. And he was like, Lauren, I just saw everything get boxed up. And he was like, I know you. He was like, I was already willing to put you on my callback list. But as soon as you said you started, I saw everything shut down. And I was always so scared of not of crossing a boundary and a director being like, oh, I didn't like that. Oh, that was a bad choice. Oh, that you just looked weird. You sounded weird. I don't buy it. And I would tell her, don't worry about that. Do whatever feels weird, whatever feels uncomfortable, whatever feels not you. And if someone doesn't like it, you take that note, you apply it, you move on. And it held me back for a long time.
Oh, wow.
Because I just wasn't willing to make a fool of myself and give 100% of my energy to everything. I wasn't committed until probably I was a junior, and then I started actually trusting myself. And so I would I would do
Nice.
that. I would tell her, trust herself.
Yeah. Does that kind of coincide with like don't care what people think?
Yes, trust yourself. Your instincts are your most powerful instrument in this industry, and when you have instincts, you have to follow them. They could be right, they could be wrong, but they're a part of you. They make you unique. And a good director or a good teacher will find a way to utilize your strengths to better your craft,
Wow.
which is exactly what I got at the school. They
That's
found out who I was, what I identified as a young woman, and they were like, okay, we're going to utilize these things that make you special. We're going to put them into your art.
That's awesome. Wow.
It was
You
great.
should go into teaching.
Maybe one day. Maybe one day.
What about you, Mr. Pryor? What would you say to your young self?
Oh, you're going to ask me that question? I would say to be braver. You know, in the initial time when I was in New York, it was a little bit overwhelming. I would say to trust myself a little bit more early on. Having said that, I like where my life is going. I like the trajectory into education, so that I can still act and bring that to the classroom and take what I learn in the classroom from students. I always say this: I learn a lot from my students and bring it into my work.
Aw.
So that part of my life, I'm completely satisfied with. But I think the younger version of me, right after undergrad, would be to just trust myself a little bit more and be braver.
Yeah. What is your favorite production show that you've done so far here at SAM?
Well, one of them we never got to do. Lauren was in it. It's called Almost Maine. And we were at the point where we were going to add costumes when we got the call, the cat-safe call, don't come back to campus. So that was one of my favorites. It was a great
Almost
ensemble. It was a great show. We worked very hard on it. The other one I would say would be Fences by August Wilson. I directed that back in 2012. And it really tackled race and race issues. And
Wow.
I told my actors, I said, I'm not black. I don't know what you go through every day as far as racism is concerned. But I do know that I have a relationship with a son, because this is a story about a father and basically a son who's trying to get in his good graces. I do know that part of the story. But I had an incredibly, speaking of brave, a brave cast. And it was probably one of the most wonderful experiences here.
Gotcha. Well, thank y'all for joining us today.
Yeah.
Oh, it was
Awesome.
fun.
Such good content. Such good content. Thank you so much for joining us today, guys. Sure. And a special thanks to Tom Pryor and Lauren for showcasing this department. Tune in next time when we sit down with Professor Milner to highlight the entrepreneurship major. And remember, education is key, so do it right with Degree in Me.